So I get asked a ton about Elon and X entering the payment space and completely destroying PayPal. And then right along those same lines, I also get asked a ton about how much market share is Tesla actually going to take in the long run? Are they going to actually take 100% of the market share? I mean, basically all cars are going to be Tesla in the future. Is it 80%, 90%? What is that number? Well, I got thoughts on that because it's kind of rooted in a complete fallacy when it comes to investing that a lot of people tend to believe. So buckle up. There's some truth coming directly at you guys, and some of you guys are going to love it. Some of you guys are maybe won't be so happy, but at least I'm not sitting here just blowing smoke up your butt to get views. So at least like the video for no other reason than I'm not blowing smoke up your butt, and let's get started. So I cover this exact topic in my group, which the flash sale ends today. If you want to go through Tesla's earnings call with me and get everything else that's included, just check out the pinned comment down there and see what you get. But we covered this response in my group because the same questions, a lot of the same thought processes, and a lot of the same flawed logics were used. We're kind of bouncing around my group, and so I had to address it completely. So I provided a ton of value for everybody in there, and I wanted to bring it to you guys because I think it's going to provide a ton of value and kind of add some levity to the situation with all of this in regards to these stocks. All right, guys. Well, hopefully everybody's doing great out there, and we had a great topic come up this weekend in regards to investing. And well, I want to talk about zero-sum investing specifically. And what I mean by that is there tends to be this feeling out there in the market, or this feeling among investors, and of course it's perpetrated on YouTube and the media and CNBC and Kathy Wood and all kinds of other folks like that. They're out there basically saying there can only be one winner. There has to be a winner, and when there is a winner, then there's losers. And that's true, but it's not completely true in regards to there's going to be more than one winner in a lot of spaces. Sometimes there is, hundreds of winners in a space, depending upon the type of space that it is. But more importantly, this idea that everything has to come from one, and whenever you're looking at specifically, and I'm talking growth stocks here, so get legacy out of your head. Think about growth stocks, new markets, emerging markets, the future trends in life, all those sorts of things like that. Whatever the heck we can think of that in regards to the future, people tend to think that because there's multiple new competitors coming into a space that is future-based, where the TAM is huge long-term, you're looking at, oh my gosh, it's a $6 trillion market, or whatever the case is, whatever number you hear out there. And then all of a sudden, when a newcomer comes to the space, it's all of a sudden the incumbents, the current winners right now, have to lose in order for this person right here to win. And that doesn't make any sense because it's a $6 trillion market. And until this person right here has sucked up $6 trillion worth of revenue coming in, or $6 trillion, basically, unless they've saturated that market completely, this competitor over here doesn't have to take anybody from here in order to be highly successful as well. So, but that tends to be what people do. They tend to look and then tend to go. And this came up specifically with PayPal. They're talking about, if Elon, creates X and then X somehow, gets into the payment space, which is completely possible, does it hurt PayPal? And to me, the losers in terms of that type of fintech activity are not the people that are already there. The losers are going to be legacy banks. They're going to be people who don't use those products right now that move into those type products. And Apple Pay was a perfect example. I remember when Apple Pay hit, and I thought it was going to be highly successful, just like everybody else did. And everybody's like, oh, that has to come from PayPal. And I'm like, why? I would be the perfect example of somebody who would use Apple Pay, but I don't use PayPal. And most PayPal users are not switching from PayPal over to Apple Pay just because of that reason. Now, I'm not saying some won't. And I'm not saying there's zero that go over anything like that. But the idea that the $20 billion that they drew in from that, their first quarter, came from PayPal is completely false, because PayPal grew that same quarter that Apple was busy taking all that market share, which tells me they took the market share from that TAM that's out there that hasn't been tapped yet, not necessarily from PayPal. Now, that means maybe that future revenue won't be hit by PayPal, but PayPal may have never gotten those customers to begin with. And I use myself as a perfect example. I'm not going to use PayPal. I'm not going to use Venmo. I'm not going to use a lot of the other products that are out there. But Apple Pay, something that is easy, already integrates with everything I already do with all the Apple products, makes sense that, okay, if I want that capability in the future, I'm going to use that and go there. Same thing with the Fed now and all the talk about that. It's just bringing legacy banks into the 21st century. More importantly, bringing the Fed into the 21st century. And when you actually read through all the documentation and understand how it's going to be implemented and everything else, I don't think too many people are going to use it, period. Because it's a typical government product that just, it's not that great. The back end part where, checks clear real time, or, your transfers happen in real time versus, having to go through the Fed and all this. That's all great. That to me is where the real impact of that product's going to be. Zero to do with in terms of hitting PayPal's financials or taking over PayPal's market share or anything else like that. That's just silly talk. Some of it went down conspiracy theories and a bunch of other stuff like that. Got silly real fast in regards to that. But that's kind of how that works. It's the same exact thing with the EV race. I love Tesla. Tesla is going to be the leader. Tesla doesn't need to be 20% of all the cars sold in the world in order to be the most dominant car maker in the history of the world. So there's no need for Tesla to own 100% of the EVs. And it's absolutely false to think that's what's actually going to happen. But yet there are people out there saying that's exactly what's going to happen, or they're going to own 80%, or I don't know, just the crazy numbers that get thrown out there and such, or to me are just crazy. Elon can absolutely win, only sucking up 20% of the market share of the world's autos. That's it. That's hugely winning, far beyond what anybody's expectations should be for Tesla. But the idea that there's going to be one winner and everybody else is going to be a loser is just not going to be how it works. Now, I agree with you guys. Legacy auto's in trouble, and I think there's going to be some consolidation. I think there's going to be some, we can call it, I won't call it shady government deals, but there's absolutely going to be government assistance to get them across the finish line on the other side of that thing. Lots of Chinese automakers, for everybody sitting there saying, oh, we're never going to allow Chinese EVs over here. Really? People said the same exact thing in the 80s in regards to Chinese goods. Oh, the government's going to shut that off. Oh, they're never going to be as good as Americans, blah, blah, blah. All that sort of stuff like that. Here we are 40 years later, 40-something years later, and virtually every product we get, that's in your house right now, if you're a U.S. citizen, was made in China. A good chunk of it is. So, this idea that that's not going to happen to me is not true. Just like it's not true that, Elon's going to dominate EV market to that degree. It's just not. There's going to be multiple players, whether they be Chinese, whether they be some of the legacy automakers that make it and pull themselves forward, whether there's some consolidation within the auto market, whether there's a bankruptcy that then allows them to reset a lot of that debt, get rid of a lot of the albatrosses that kind of hang around them and kind of allow them to be nimble enough in order to get there. That right there is absolutely possible as well. So all these sort of things, I guess the bigger point here I want to make is getting into zero-sum investing and thinking that one has to take away from another is just, it's one of those deals where it can get you in a lot of trouble real fast, because now you're kind of picking either or. And the reality is well, they both can win. So it's all right to own both. Or maybe you just choose the one that you think will win the best, but it doesn't mean the other one's going to be a loser either. We can both win with investing. That's kind of the beauty of investing over the long run. It's lots of people can win. You can short, I can go long, we can both win. We can both own multiple stocks within the same sector, and both of us win as well. Now, sure, there's always the one, either can be the one winner that goes and runs, turns into the next Apple, but that doesn't mean there aren't other winners along the way. I can remember the battle being between Microsoft and Apple, and yeah, Apple in terms of stock price return over the past 20 plus years has dominated Microsoft, because Microsoft had like a decade of flat with Steve Ballmer at the helm. They made a lot of mistakes back then. But you can't tell me Microsoft still isn't one of the most desirable stocks to own today, along with Apple. It is. They're both winners over the long run. So that's kind of where I kind of want you guys to think that there can be multiple winners. There can be multiple things happen within a sector. And it doesn't need to be if Elon decides to enter the payment space, that all of a sudden PayPal's in trouble. Now, I can't imagine if that happens because of Elon's past relationship with PayPal, that there's not going to be some crazy YouTube drama over that, or some crazy, oh my gosh, Elon's here to just crush PayPal and destroy them forever. And, I can imagine the narratives that will go on, but don't let that affect your investing. It is not a zero-sum game. Winners are going to win regardless. And usually, not in all cases, usually there are multiple winners in particular sectors and particular segments. And especially whenever you have a growing market like fintech is, it's not legacy banking where, okay, everybody has a legacy bank. It's the new, it's the future. And therefore there's going to be multiple winners, and there's lots of pieces of the pie for everybody to take and still grow and still provide you a nice return in regards to your stocks. I'd worry much more about performance, management's performance, some other things like that than I would, is Apple Pay coming? Is, FedNow coming, or whatever the case is. So anyways, hopefully this kind of at least gives you something to think about next time whenever you start hearing that talk on YouTube or on the news or whatever, that it is possible that we could have multiple winners in this space, and probably will in regards to the fintech space. There's going to be a lot of winners, just like there's a lot of winners in banking, right? There's not one bank, there's not two banks, there's hundreds of great banks out there that you can invest in order to own. So, and remember, if you want to learn how to do evaluation, how to get price targets, you want to see my complete watch list with price targets, see all my buy and sells in real time, you want to take 5 courses for free, you want to use the stock analyzer tool completely for free, you want to jump in my DMs, you want to be able to jump on our live Q&As, have access to the best 6 and 7 and 8 figure Discord out there, and just a ton more, guys. Check out the pinned comment down there and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market, and click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.